Yo, go dogs. Welcome back. This is episode 2. In our 2021-2022 leveling guide, Russian Fishing 4, last time I said, hey, if any resources that are really helpful for you in RF4, put them in the comments. I don't know if you've done that yet, because honestly, episode 1's still uploading, and here I am working on episode 2. However, this is episode 2, and what I want to invite you to do now, in this nice second episode, is focus your comments in chat on any advice that you think is really important for new players. Put your own spin on it, whatever you think is really important. By the way, maybe brush your teeth or floss or whatever before you start an episode of content on YouTube. I'm going to be worried about my teeth this whole episode. All right, it's about time for us to start. Remember what we're doing here in episode 2 is we are comparing the first spot I showed you, which was, down here somewhere. Was it C5? Something like that. You remember the last spot. To this spot. I think the other spot that we fished in the first episode is probably producing more trophies right now, but this is always a solid spot. Here at C3, we're going to use the same setup we used. 7-8 meter clip here. We're still fishing with bread. Oh, we got to make some more ground bait, by the way. And worms. Let's see if we can go to 80 meter clip here. I think it might be slightly deeper over here. Oh yeah, might even be able to go to a meter. I'm not sure. I'm gonna grab the ingredients we need for a second thing of ground bait. Remember, we already have the sunflower oil. We are going to add ground crackers and millet porridge. We use the same ground bait, just basic crucian gibble ground bait. Something that I cannot believe I didn't mention in the first episode, and I think we just missed a bite, is if you're trying to figure out what baits to use. Now, as a new player, I don't feel like, this is necessarily that important in episode 1 because frankly, you just don't have that many options in the beginning. I guess you have a few because, we technically could be purchasing. There's some pretty cheap baits, so we could be purchasing a little more than we have in terms of baits, but I just kind of like using bread, worms, maybe maggots, which we do have some maggots we could try, but right now we got to stick with bread and worms because we're trying to do a fair test, right, against the other spot. So we're going to fish here 30 minutes. And then we're going to compare, can we beat, using one feeder, one float, can we beat 27 fish worth 25 silver? I think the first spot might be a little better, but we'll see. This one's pretty solid too, normally. But if you're trying to figure out what bait to use, if you're new to the game, one thing you can try is going to records. So you hit escape, records and ratings, click on weekly. That's very important. You can also narrow it down by region and then find the species you're going for. So Chinese sleepers at Mosquito prefer fish species. Now we don't have those. We do have bloodworms. So if I really want to target Chinese sleepers, maybe this week bloodworms would work. You can also, this is under records, you can also specifically go to telescopic records, which shows people that are using float rods. No, we also have to go back to weekly. Don't let that fool you. It defaults back up to the Mosquito Lake. Now, people are using float rods. What have the weekly Chinese sleepers been on? Mosquito, nightcrawler, bloodworm, worm, redworm. So there's some options. So don't forget, if you're just trying to get new ideas of what's a new bait I could try, don't forget about using the weekly records section to take a look. All right, we're off to a banging start here. Catching some fish. We got it. That looked like a bite to me. I wasn't 100% sure. Could have been a soft little nibble, but All right, so what's the early difference you see from this spot compared to the spot we fished at in the first episode? Well, so far this one to me has been more active, but at least right now we're catching, all of them have been less than markers. So we'll see if that keeps up. It probably won't. I think during the evening we will start to catch some markers, but what size hook do we have on this? Do we still have the... Oh, yeah, we've got a 16. That's fine. And now we're just chilling. Not much has changed in terms of the cafe orders because it hasn't been that long since It's been a day, an in-game day since I recorded the last episode, so it's not like we have the benefit of new cafe orders for all these little crucian gibble things. Oh, we got both of them. How awesome is this? And this is a marker, too. Look at that. Big time in it. That's one silver right there. This is a nice little fish. Oh, yeah. Might be a silver and a half. We missed it. That was a bite, I think, but we missed it. Yeah, I mean, the bite rate over here right now is nice. The sizes have been small overall, but we're getting into more ideal fishing time now. So we'll see. We'll see. The spot might come out the winner of our little of this comp. And actually, I do need to remember the bite rate will slow down once it's nighttime. But what will improve is the percentage of markers that we catch. So it's too early to say like, oh, this is so much better bite rate than the other spot. It may end up being, but that's also because when we first started fishing, it was like still in that like afternoon, not really like evening yet, so like the bite rate might be a little higher, but the sizes are small. Now we're into more like ideal fishing time for the rest of the night and the morning. Should be a decent percentage of markers here, hopefully pretty comparable to what the other spot gave us. So what I'd like to do in this episode, if I have the endurance, is after we do this 30 minutes, can compare these two spots. Actually, because it should be like in the middle of the day by then, the following day. I want to go try that bleak day spot again at Winding. We did it briefly in the first episode, but if we can afford, oh yes, that's a decent common roach. Now that could be cool if they're more prevalent over here. Mix in a few nice roach as well. That could be good for the cafe. I think there might be some roach cafe orders. But we're not going to target them. We're not going to do anything different. We got to use the same baits, same approach, just to do a good comparison between these two spots. Initial comparison. And once we get more feeder rods, we can do it again. See if it changes once we have more lines in the water. But I like these two spots at Mosquito right now. There is another spot that I used to use a lot at Mosquito in these leveling guides. or in New Mosquito once it switched to this Mosquito. And it's way down here towards the bottom of the map. So we might get down there and test out that fishing spot down there at some point as well. We'll see though. By the way, if you have it, you know, if you're like a little higher level and you've got a little bit better bait choices, of course you're going to do better. You're going to catch more trophies and all that with a little bit larger hook, and then using things like sweet dough or, you know, semolina, maybe even honey dough. Pearl barley would probably be pretty good right now here. Pearl barley would catch a combination of crucian gibbles as well as some roach probably. That's a nice one. Sometimes at nighttime, if you're really going for trophies, night crawlers can be really good, believe it or not, for these crucian gibbles, but it can also be really slow. You might catch only like 3 fish all night, but 2 of them might be trophies, you know. I just like the feel of this spot right now. It's keeping us occupied even with just 1 feeder and 1 float. Feels pretty good. We are catching some small guys, but I mean, every fish, especially when you're this low level, is leveling you up with XP, but also, and more importantly, it's giving you skill points, right? So what is this, by the way? This is on bread. Slowly increasing my friction break. I'd love to get this fish in, but with these cheap hooks and everything, it is entirely possible this sucker is just going to pop off. Let's keep it out of the red. These cheap hooks, it's going to pull it right out of the fish's mouth. He's running on me. 3.1. It's a little common carp, maybe? I don't want to move. Like, I don't even want to try to chase it down because at this point, because it's so risky, again, with these cheap hooks, it's going to pop out. But if it gets too far away from us, we'll have to start taking chances and move towards it. But we might get this guy in. It could just be like a really small common carp, or it could be a really nice, you know, gibble crucian. Gibble or, yeah, crucian. We're about to see it. Oh, I think it is a gibble. So it's not a trophy, but that thing pulled, didn't it? It was a fighter. It's the biggest fish we've caught on this account, 1.2. Kind of shows you that trophy is going to be iffy with that setup. Trophy is going to be iffy. So what's the weakest part of this setup? It's really the reel. We've also got really cheap line. But you got to make do at this level. It's all you can afford. The hook is also really cheap. Doesn't take a whole lot of pressure to cause problems with the hook too, but I'd say that was an issue on the reel. Probably did a little damage to my reel also. Since the reel is technically, you know, right there is the same, if not even lower strength than my line, unfortunately. But that's a nice fish. I mean, that's a great fish to try to land at this level. Lots of XP, you know, worth what? 3.5 silver, something like that. It's awesome. Being a lot more aggressive with this one. See if we can just go ahead and get it turned around, heading our way. It's another really nice one though. 627 gram. I forgot how low my friction brake was. We could have pulled that in very easily, but I lowered the friction brake just in case we did hit like a really nice one that we wouldn't immediately be in trouble. Kind of play with it a little. Man, there's level 6 already. We're up to 3-point-something% on float fishing. What are we on bottom fishing? Float's 3.6, bottom's already 4.9. That gives us another point, and so for now we're going to continue to put points in fishing with a feeder rod. Keep working towards that for now. I mean, unless this spot really slows down, it looks like we might catch a couple more fish than the other spot. But the question is, will it also be worth more silver, or are we going to have more small guys mixed in that are worth less? Because remember, at the first spot in 30 minutes, we had 27 fish worth 25 silver. So pretty nice average there in terms of a lot of them were markers. Grats to Furlan BR, who just hit a blue tag super trophy gibble. Very cool. Probably at Ladoga. I think the super trophies are coming out for gibbles at Ladoga right now. I hear you, Red. Ooh, we hit it. We got both. It's a roach. Our friction break is so low that this fish is actually not very big, but it's actually pretty decent. Holy cow. Almost showed you how to snap your line or break your reel one there. Ooh, nice crucian. Ah, beautiful. Little crucian. You know, that's a good example. 97 gram crucian, right? Not worth anything. 0.01 silver. But we got a point. We got float fishing up to 4%, you know. So at this level, every little fish is helping you hit those points. And why does that matter? Well, if we wanted to, you know, really lean into float fishing, the sooner we get to 30% and can start using bolo rods, the more options that'll open up. Or what we're more likely to do on bottom fishing, the sooner we'll open up paternoster or classic hair, which allows us to start using little boilies and such. So, you know, it's definitely, you know, what you're looking at is not just the silver, it's also what you're unlocking that allows you to potentially be a little bit more well-rounded or versatile in your fishing approach. Oh, don't leave your friction break up that high. When you got small setups like this, you always want to put it back down to, you know, 15 or so in this kind of situation, just so you have a little bit of time to react and figure out if you want to increase it or decrease it based on what you got on the line. I mean, there are common carp here, so, you know, and I think there's mirror carp here now as well. There's golden tench, regular tench, eyed, big perch. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff here that every once in a while you could catch one, and then on this kind of setup, you're just going to be holding on for dear life, trying to figure out if it's worth fighting it for an hour or, you know, just cutting your losses and throwing it back out there. I still haven't changed the, we were going to try 1 meter depth on this. I think I do want to try that. Let's see if 1 meter still sits straight up or if it's touching the bottom. I'll allow that change since we're fishing at a different depth already than we were at the other spot anyway. I'm not sure. I'm going to hold off. Might have been worth giving a little tug there, trying it, but it slowed down. It didn't look very aggressive, so I'm going to hold off. It might just be small, or that might have just been a nibble. But it's kind of, seems like it's kind of gone away now, so I have a feeling that might have been a bite. And I just missed it, but I'm not sure. All right. Let's see if this is about to pop off, but we need to, yep. Ooh, nothing on there. All right, so we're going to go to 1 meter depth and see if it still sits there. We also need to make our ground bait because we've got 2 pieces left on our float rod right now. Yeah, that still sits at 1 meter. We could even go to 1.2 meters, see what that does to it. All right, ground bait, we're making crucian gibble. We've got all the ingredients. Don't fail. Now we got to buy the ingredients again. Pretty quick bite. Little perch. All right, let's go 1.2. That might be too much, but let's try it. I'm going to go get ingredients. Is it sitting? Yeah, it's actually sitting. Wow. Maybe it's 1.5 there. I'm not even sure. Crackers. Millet porridge. I think we've got something on our feeder rod. Oh, float too. Man, we're going to miss this bite, aren't we? Oh, no, we got it. Nice. That is awesome. Hey, it's a rough as well. So you know you're getting closer to the bottom when you start catching more rough. I think that rough just like hooked itself. We weren't going to miss that one. All right, there we go. So 6 out of 10. With 3 points in ground bait, we shouldn't ever really make something less than 6 out of 10. Or very rarely. Is this not... Oh, wow. I would have sworn that was going to be something really small the way it started. But I will take it. Man, this spot's still treating us good. It's 4 a.m. So I don't know how repeatable it would be if we were using the right hooks and maybe, you know, it'd be interesting to see if we could catch Oh, another nice fish here. If we could catch multiple rough here, if this is a spot that we could actually target rough cafe orders once we have 3 feeders, I'm not sure, but maybe. All right, so we're already at 23 fish. 27 fish for the other spot. I mean, obviously we're going over on the number, but are we going to go over on the silver? It's going to be, we might, because we've caught some juicy ones. Yeah, this, oh, yep, see we're out of ground bait. So we can hold down B and add the ground bait. We switch to the new stack of ground bait. Man, is this a rough again? I think it's a rough. You see how nice and easy those are to catch compared to the other junk? For float, like if you can get on some of these small species like rough, dace, bleak, they just have a much cleaner presentation. They don't play with their food. They just are like, yeah, I'll take that. And you pull them out of the water. What was that? At some point in the past, year or whatever, maybe a little more, they've added this float window at the bottom of the screen. I don't even use it. I mean, a lot of times on my main account, oh crap. A lot of times on my main account, I'll even just take it off, turn it off. There are a lot of options, like you can change where it is, what size it is. You can change how far away it has to be from you to start showing up. So there's a lot of cool options to play with there. Did I pull that too early? I think I did. And that's why sometimes I'm better not holding the float rod, because it gives me that extra second to kind of see what the fish is doing before I start pulling it out of the water. All right, you gotta watch time. We should still have a few more minutes before it's 30 minutes, right? 24, so we're getting there. It's gonna be close, it's gonna be close. I mean, one more fish makes 27, but the question again is gonna be the silver. Is the silver better or worse? All right, now we can, are you kidding me? Wow, I'm just gonna refresh this. It's gonna start fresh here. Catching those couple of rough kind of spoiled me. Wow. Now I'm getting so impatient, apparently. Way too quick on the float bites. I like that. Gravis Ton, level 33, came into the chat and said, hey, how's everybody doing? Nice friendly chatter. Oh, Charles, the pretentious cook. Just getting started for the night? Ooh, look at this. Nice black carps. Well, that'll help the fish count number, but that's not going to help the silver. Gotta watch the time. We're at 26 minutes. That just looks pretty aggressive to me. I'm kind of burned right now from missing those fish, but oh, that was 2 quick ones. Come on, are you kidding me? I'm wrong again. I'm on a string of really like bad luck right now with float. I knew you were gonna. Wow, this almost snapped it. That almost snapped our line. Okay, let's check the time. Gotta check the time. 27 minutes. We're still good. We're still good. We'll have to give that other spot another try. I didn't know we were doing a competition when we fished the first spot in episode 1. Now that we know, we need to give it another try. But we'll wait till we at least can do like 2 feeder rods and a float at the same time next time. Have even more action, hopefully. All right, that line just backed up like the fish swam right towards the shore. It must still be nibbling on it, but the line is definitely moving on that feeder. I don't know how much it matters, but you'll notice when I'm float fishing, I kind of like to just give it try to do sort of a gentle tug at first. And if that sets the hook, you'll see the fish just take off with the bobber like it did right there. And it doesn't always mess up the bite. So at this like low level float fishing, that's kind of how I do it. I'm not saying it's the right way, but it's kind of how I do it. Once again, this line is just, yeah, there's a fish on. Little gibble. We're at 28 minutes. I mean, we'll get maybe one more fish. It's just about it, though. We're almost at the 30-minute mark. Can't wait to see what the silver comparison is. We know that it's more fish now. I mean, the other one was 30 minutes, 27 fish. We're at almost 30 minutes. We've already got 31, so we'll try to get these fish in if we can, and then we're calling it on this spot. We've done a few more fish in the time allowed, but the question still remains, is the silver better or not? Now, the time is also not lining up, because remember in the other spot we fished until, what, at least 8 a.m., something like that, I think? But it's close. It's really close. The times are really close. I mean, this is still a really good time to fish, but I feel like we need to stop for the sake of the 30-minute mark. All right, let's go see what we got. Actually, let's leave our feeder in. We just won't count whatever we catch on this toss here, because we won't get it out of the water before we've looked at the results. Okay. At the second spot, we caught 33 fish. And now how much silver? 31 silver. So look, I would say the average on size and value is about the same, right? The reason why we made more silver is because we caught more fish. All right, so let's check the cafes. We didn't get enough rough to do any orders. The rough weren't very consistent. I'm sorry, roach weren't very consistent. Rough, I mean, again, we're getting there. Still got a couple days left. Might be worth holding on to those. We can do the gibble. So this will be 3 silver that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And then we can go sell everything else except I think I will hold on to the rough. So we'll do it by weight. There's 31 silver. We're holding on to the rough. And now we have 70 silver, guys. Plenty to get our next feeder rod set up. Let's see what this last fish we catch here is. If there's one on there. Can you tell if it's on yet? Maybe not. All right, so what we want to do is first we want to get our next feeder rod, another one just like this. And then we'll get we'll get the one that's 9 silver. It's got a little bit more spool. It's fine. Same strength. It's whatever. So we're using 3 kilos. So we want line just under 3 kilo if possible. But there's not one, so we'll go with just over 3.1. We're gonna get cheapest line because we're dealing with like really cheap equipment, so there's no point getting a nicer. Feeder wise, same thing, 30 gram. And the bite alarm, same thing, 2.9. And we already have a couple of hooks, but what we want to look at now is, do we have enough to justify, how close to, what does this have to be? Level 8, so we're nowhere near. So the best we can do at this level is a 20. Do we just get one? Yeah, because we're not sure what we're going to do next. We just get one to put on our float. Is there really not a fish on? Oh, there is now. Decent, decent. Not that decent. All right. So we're about to go try out, but in the meantime, let's go ahead and hook up our second, oh, that's the wrong thing. Our second feeder rod. Let's go ahead and get this set up. Spark, new fishing line, bite indicator, cage, ground bait, 16, whatever. Just put worms on there for now. All right. We're not going to put it in right now, though. And then in our third spot, we want to put this, and we're going to get this set up for trying out the dace again. All right. All right. So we want to get our free food real quick. We're going to go by the cottage pond to get our free worms. And then we're going to winding. We're just going to try this little day spot out. I don't know if there's a decent place to set up our feeders. We'll just try like throwing them out just to see if they do anything. But we'll probably take the ground bait off, because I'm not sure they're going to do anything. But until we see what's actually biting. Like if we put worms out there, the only thing we might catch in this spot is like occasional perch or something. But, you know, I could be wrong, so we'll see. If we want to splurge and get another size 20 hook, maybe we would occasionally catch one of the small fish. Maybe that's what we should try, get at least one more of the little hooks. 3. So on one, we're going to take ground bait off, we're going to put 20 on, and we'll use bloodworm. And then we want to do really small clip. We'll do 5-meter clip. And let's just put it like right here. Let's just see if anything happens at all. And then on number 2, take the ground bait off. 16 is fine, and we'll leave worm on there. Okay, but really what we're here for is this. So we want to make sure it's on the lowest depth possible, 17 centimeters. Cast it out here just a little bit. And the only difference is now we've got a size 20 hook. I wish it was 22 or even better 24, but 22 is better than 16 or 18 or whatever we were using in that first episode. All right, first fish is a perch. That's not what we want. At least it was a small perch. Holy cow. That bend, though. A river mussel. River mussel and bloodworm. You saw it here first. So, at a much later date, when you're much higher level, catching mussels like that is really nice because you can turn them into bait, which then you can use to catch something like a Russian sturgeon or something like really, you know, valuable. So it's pretty cool. All right, there we go. That's what we're looking for. We found one, and that hits level 7. So this isn't a marker bleak, but it was still, you know, a little bit of XP. Pushed us up to level 7. We are going to go ahead and do what we did before. Put another point into fishing with a feeder rod to give us that additional control of the fish. But to me, because we know the like middle of the day is not great. Like the size of the crucian gibbles you're going to be catching are probably pretty small. If dace and bleak are biting okay in this spot, then this is like a pretty nice little strat. Like during certain parts of the middle part of the day, yeah, just come level up your float fishing a little bit. You might not make a ton if you don't get many marker-sized bleak. Ooh, qualification, nice. But if you do hit, like you remember that dace we caught, right? That dace was worth 8 silver. If you can hit a couple of those, a few nice bleak, then you can make a decent amount of silver. And then, you know, maybe 1,600, 1,800, you head back to Mosquito and get on your crucian gibble life again. But I just think this is a pretty fun way, like if you want to level up float fishing a little bit early on, little spots like this are a nice way to do it. And you can still do okay XP and silver wise, even though you're, you know, not really catching much on your feeder rods. In fact, it might not even be worth having those out there. We'll see. Or there might be a better spot, you know, like maybe we go down the path a little bit and have an even better spot, but see if we can get a little closer to the shore this time. See how much easier this is? It's a bleak. I don't think it's a marker though. We got to get one of those that's marker size. That was pretty close to the shore, so that's good to know. I mean, even just catching like those little perch and stuff that we're catching on feeder, at least we're still getting points. We're still leveling up our feeder fishing. It's not really disrupting what we're doing in float, but it is still giving us little points here and there. So a little roach like that, the only way that's worth it is if there's a cafe order for those little guys. But again, we're leveling up float fishing, and we know that we at least have a chance to get some, that's a bleak. That's a bleak that's on there now. I need to catch this one. I don't know that it's a marker size, but I also just want to catch all the bleak I can. It's too small. Too small. All right. What did I tell you at the beginning of the episode? It's always worth checking the weeklies. Flies. Flies and mayflies. I don't know if a lot of times because they do catch bleak so well. So why are bleak desirable for players of all levels? Because bleak can be turned into bait fish that can catch a very valuable fish called bellows at an entirely different water body. So a lot of people will fish for bleak to get bait fish. So the bait that catches bleak really well, which often is flies, or pearl barley, which we can't make yet, is usually out of stock here, but we'll try. Yeah, so we would have to buy 600 flies to be able to use them here. Now, when we go back to Mosquito, we'll check there as well, but it's probably something similar. So that is one of the challenging parts of this game that you might as well embrace from an early level, is that there are going to be ideal baits and setups and things that, you know, are available in the store that you just don't have access to at a low level, either because it requires you to be higher level to access it, or because you're not high enough level to go to Volkov yet, where everything is pretty much in stock. So you've got to get creative. You got to try alternative baits. So what are we using? We're using bloodworm. It's actually okay. It's been doing okay. Once we put a little bit of money into bait harvesting, and we can make pearl barley, then we can also try pearl barley. A lot of times bleak like pearl barley. You probably won't catch the dace on them as much. Maybe. But they like the... Is that a perch again? It's something big, isn't it? It ran away. It's scared. All right, let's throw this in close to the shore, even closer. And I want to check dace. I didn't look at weekly dace. Ooh, casters. Can you catch bleak on casters, or would we get some dace on casters? All right, let's try casters. We should be able to afford to get some casters out of the bait shop, and they shouldn't be out of stock. All right, we didn't get a nibble that close, so that might be a little bit too close. If some of these different low-level baits happen to be out of stock when you're playing, because remember, stocks change. It's not going to always be the same. If they happen to be, remember the bait kit. You get a few of all of these types of baits. So if one of these is out of stock, it's a little bit more pricey to get it this way, but the bait kit is a good deal overall. All right, casters, very cheap. Let's try casters. We do have maggots too. I think maggots have been known to work occasionally on bleak. A gudgeon. That's fun. And that was on bloodworm. I kind of want to change worm to maggot on our other feeder. We also might want to try maggots on float. I think there's a reason why maggots aren't always good to use, and it might be the number of roach and or chub you sometimes catch on them. I'm not sure though. I mean, all we can do is experiment and figure it out. And again, if we had smaller hooks, we would have an even different experience potentially. Perch. I feel like if casters are here, we should catch them. Oh, it's a bleak. Oh, that's what we want to see. Not quite marker size, though. Not quite marker size. And that was a little farther out, so we'll throw it back out there. Shout out to Delusion, who, similar level 13, still using the 3 starter feeder setup, saving up for the next upgrade. Sounds like he's doing well. Sorry. Responding to people in chat. So I guess I should just say it out loud since I'm sitting here typing. They were asking, you know, they've saved up over 300 silver. There's a white bream. We're catching a little bit of everything here on bloodworms. They're asking, should they get the starter kit or should they skip the starter kit on feeders and just save and just go ahead and start saving for their Saber 60s? Which some people do that. Some people like save forever. They go from these starter feeder setups. They don't get the starter kit and they save for, you know, sabers. But to me, that's a really long, painful save. So I like getting those starter kits because they are really good. You can target bream pretty effectively. Trophies are going to give you a run for your money, but pretty effectively you can target bream with those starter kits. So I like doing that. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. It's also the time of day. This is like the worst time of day. But stuff like bleak and dace, sometimes they'll bite through it. You know, we'll still have a potential to catch a decent few. But I don't know that I've been super impressed with casters. We're just not seeing the dace right now. Maybe we should start it a little farther up the coast. I don't remember how far down it had floated when we caught that dace last time in the first episode. But this did not get anything. Let's try that before we try a different bait. Let's just kind of start it more up here. and watch it float a little farther. Somebody said I have a Saber. What's a good feeder rod to go with it? I mean, I said Fortuna, the Fortuna 420 maybe. I mean, there's definitely a lot of options when you start getting into that like early mid game. There's just more and more gear to think about. But I mean, I've always thought those Fortuna feeders are so solid and a really good value in terms of how strong they are for how little silver they cost. So obviously we're playing this game as a free-to-play game right now in this leveling series. I mean, it's worth mentioning because I don't think I have. This game has, you know, multiple revenue streams. Obviously how the developers make a little money and hopefully continue to put resources into creating new content for the game. One of which is basically a monthly sub. I mean, it's called Going Premium. See, premium not active. Well, you know, according to how much premium you buy, it changes how much it's going to cost you. But if you have premium, you get a little more XP per fish. You have a little better chance of leveling up skills and stuff. You get happy hour where it's like twice as likely to get leveling points. I usually say, I don't, unless you're just looking to support the developers, which I think is great, but unless you're just looking to do that, you probably don't need to go premium early on. You level so fast in the big scheme of things. Your big problem early on is figuring out how to make silver, not getting levels. I mean, we're already level 7, and we literally only have, you know, 2.9 silver right now because we're trying to get some basic feeders together and such. So, so in my mind, you know, going premium doesn't really become a thing that makes a whole lot of sense, at least until your 20s, mid-20s or so. Because then you're getting high enough level that you're not getting points in leveling up every fish anymore. It's a little bit more of a grind at that point. Hey, it's a bleak on feeder. It's our first fish on maggots, right? Common roach. At least it's a marker size. Let's see, what are they asking? Is the Sputnik Element Pro 4000 viable with Fortuna? And then upgrading to Sabers? Yeah. Oh. That was definitely a little fish. I'm not sure which kind. I don't know what to say to that. I mean, you can do anything you want. Like, the Fortuna feeder rod, I mean, that's a lot of rod, considering how weak the reels are we're talking about there. But, I mean, that's fine. Just make sure you're setting up your line based on your reel strength and not your rod strength, obviously. But, it's getting to be that time of day when it's like, maybe we should, you know, I mean, obviously this episode's going to have to come to a close here pretty soon, but maybe we should go back to, there's a little chub. I knew if we put maggots out there, we might start seeing those. Maybe we should go back to Crucian Gibbles, potentially. Oh, crap, I'm holding the wrong rod. No, we missed it. All right, let's see if we can get another one. All right, do we try it one more time with bloodworms? Let's try casters one more time. It's getting to be that time of day where maybe some of the fish will start getting a little more active again. It really hasn't been that good. I mean, so many non-markers, so we're not going to make any silver. But again, you know, we leveled up skills. We learned a little bit about fishing in this spot. I think this spot will improve when we get the smaller hook. And then it's just a matter of finding that right bait. Flies are going to be a little better for bleak. But what I haven't quite figured out is how to get on the dace train. We probably don't. I mean, that wouldn't be flies. It looked like casters would be an option, but this may just not be the best dace spot at the moment. All right. Well, I mean, honestly, it didn't quite go as well as I had hoped, but again, we learned some stuff. Man, some of these orders would be so easy, but they're not that valuable. The bleak order. Oh, we just got enough. 16 silver. Never mind. It went great. It went great. We also got one white bream, but we weren't consistent with that at all. That's a trophy roach. All right. So those bleak were all non-markers. They wouldn't have been worth anything. 4 more silver. We don't really want to sell these yet, do we? All right, 4 silver. I don't think we're going to end up doing anything with the rough because I'm not going to record another one tonight anyway. So we might as well just sell them all. All right, 4.15. So we are back up to 23 silver. And for next episode, we do have 2 feeders, which is huge. You know, we're now saving for that third feeder. And then we can start probably leveling bait harvesting pretty aggressively. And I wanted to go to mosquito to check flies. Bait harvesting, and then maybe also like doing a little bit of cooking. But I mean, we need to save up for shovel. And then that'll help with bait harvesting, and then cooking, and then make a bunch of bread. I mean, you know, there's some stuff we need to do. But first, I think get our third feeder so that when we want to, we can go hard into feeding. Yeah. Flies. It's even worse here. We'd have to buy 1,500. Okay. They might be available at Old Berg when you hit level 12. Not sure. Okay, so that's it. We're going to leave it there. We're going to leave it there. Just under an hour. But I think that's a good stopping point. We're level 7. We've got 2 feeder setups. We're saving for third. And then we're going to start saving for some alternative things other than just gear. But it won't be long until we'll need to start saving for gear again. That's just the way this game goes. You're always working on something, right? There's never enough silver. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. You all are the best. Remember, in the comments on this one, on episode 2, if you think about it, what are some of the best tips that you would leave for newer players to RF4? So if anything comes to mind, put your own spin on it. Let us know what you think. I will try to remember in upcoming episodes to go back and check out some of the comments from the first couple episodes here. So peace out. Tight lines, everybody.